Hey, this is MJ, call sign KW3KW, and welcome to another episode of Ham Radio Made Simple. Today I'm going to be talking about the Ciro Mazzoni baby loop antenna. This is episode number 46. I'm going to be talking specifically about the setup and use and basically loop antennas in general. I'm not going to call it magnetic loop antennas because technically people will say that's not correct, but most people will know these loop antennas as magnetic loop antennas. So if you're finding any value in this and think others might, please hit the like and the subscribe button so it will help with the algorithms for other people to find this faster. So why am I looking at something like this? Well, realistically, with my health the way it is, I'm going to be moving to a condo probably within the next year. And so I want to buy something now, set up and use it until then and be ready to work out everything that I need to do with it. So my goal is I need something that's stealth because usually with condos it's even worse HOAs that you have in there. And so I'm trying to look at an antenna I can put on a tripod on wheels and roll it in and out of the garage when I use it. I can also possibly slide it into a PVC pipe in the ground if that's possible. I'm still trying to figure out what my options are on that. But for me, I don't do a lot of just random calls. I basically do directed calls with a lot of you guys that I have met over the few years I've been doing this, and have set up times where we get on the digital side and we do directed calls, and I really, really enjoy doing that versus just trying to randomly say the same thing to everybody over and over again. Particularly, I do the digital modes at 40 watts on the digital, and I'll get into that, and that's really important to understand. When you're looking at loop antennas, not all of them can do 40 watts digital because it's a full duty cycle. It also is directional, and that's a good thing and it's a bad thing. Directional could be that if some people that I can't normally get, I can focus more on them and I can get them versus I'd lose the effect with a dipole antenna, for example, where it's multi-directional and I can get a lot of people all at the same time, but I can actually zoom in and pick up quieter signals in particular directions of some of my friends, maybe more northwest. I'm also using the Yaesu G450 ADC rotators so that I can be in my shack and I don't have to sit there and rotate the antenna to get it to work directionally. And I'm hoping that this is my last antenna, so I'm buying something that's really durable and strong and probably will be. So let's go over the agenda today. Let's talk about loop antennas, why use it, why the baby loop. I'll get into the setup, the connections, and do a quick summary. When we look at loop antennas, they form a resonant LC circuit. L is inductance, and that's the loop or the wire of the tubing. So that's when you think of the inductance, think of what you're using for your loop or tubing. And interesting, just a kind of a side note, the thickness of what you use here is not critical. So in other words, if I had a thick copper pipe versus a PVC, 2-inch PVC pipe with aluminum tape wrapped around it, the 2-inch pipe with aluminum tape, it works actually really well and in many ways better than a solid copper pipe because it doesn't go thick or deep into the material. It goes more on the surface, the skin effect. But the larger the size of the diameter of the tubing, so a 2-inch is better than, let's say, a 1/2-inch copper pipe. So if you're looking at something, the key factor to walk away with is how thick is this? Not depth-wise, but is this a 2-inch? Is it a 1-inch? Is it a 1/2-inch? The fatter this is, and it doesn't have to be deep, but the fatter this is, the better it's going to perform. The capacitance is typically what you see on a lot of them here on the baby loop. This arm goes back and forth, and that'll open up. So 40 meters is pretty much closed. 10 meters, this thing's going to be out maybe more to about here, the position in it. But within it also allows for the tuning to operate. Now, they all come in different shapes, and there is no one size that is the perfect shape when you're doing a loop antenna. This kind of came up from the military, a long time ago, and that shape, and it kind of took. And then you can see a lot of people go with the round one, but if you're going to make one, the square is easy, and it works just as well. Now, when we talk about the loop's antenna efficiency, that's the percent of the power out. And that's when you're looking at the specifications, the guides with the material that the manufacturer gives you. That's just where you want to dig into it. And so what you want to do is always compare it to what a dipole performs. So on the baby loop, for example, here, gain compared to a 1/2-inch dipole. And so this happens to be 40 meters, this is 10 meters. So you can see right away that at the lower bands at 10 meters, for example, or excuse me, 40 meters, they're going to be 10 to 15% less efficient, whereas the higher bands, the 10 meters, can be near equal to a dipole. The trade-off with this is always the bandwidth versus the frequency because they're inversely related. Bottom line means when you're using loop antennas, they have a very narrow bandwidth, and that's why a lot of times you have to do a lot of tuning with them. So what are some of the upsides when you buy a loop antenna? Some of the key features are going to be the compact size, small footprint, put it in a balcony, put it in an attic, provided you don't have a metal roof or like aluminum foam insulation around it. That will definitely stop a signal in it. Nice thing about it, you can get these multi-band and tunable. You never can get a full band. What you typically get is 10 meters to 40 meters or 20 to 80 meters. And it uses a high Q capacitator to achieve resonance, frequency, and this gives you the high efficiency. They are directional, so if it's like on your balcony, you don't need a rotator. You can just go out there and twist it a little bit. But if you have to go down 2 flights of steps and across the yard like I do, then you have to have a rotator. And if we're looking here quickly here, if this is, let's say north going forward and the antenna is running this way, east-west is where the nulls are. You can see that it doesn't go out well. So again, just be aware, that's why you want to change the directions on this. Now, one of the great things about this is if you have surrounding noise problems, a lot of RF from your neighbors, this will basically reduce most of that. Think of car chargers, AC units, if someone's a bad fluorescent light going off. This has minimal impact on it. So these are really quiet. That's why some people really want to use these in high urban areas. But it has some downsides on it. It has a very narrow bandwidth in order to improve the efficiency that you're getting out of it. So they are highly efficient. However, the trade-off is the narrow bandwidth. So you can do constant tuning on these. And you won't have to do as much tuning from one band to another. But again, you'll find it on that out. So just be aware that you're going to be doing a lot of constant tuning. It's not as forgiving. Consider a remote tuner. If you're building your own, this one comes with it, and that's really nice. And this is excellent. If you're doing a lot of digital modes, a loop antenna is outstanding for digital modes. So this is when I talk about the sharp drop-off in the bandwidth. If you're looking at a resident antenna, you'll get a more rounder one. A non-resident antenna, you get more of a kind of a spike a little bit. And then with the loop antenna, you get the drop off the cliff type of bandwidth drop. Again, understand when you're using this how the power outputs work. So it'll say, PEP voice 100 watts. And remember, when you're doing voice, that's typically a single sideband, that's 25% of full duty cycle. So if you're doing digital and that happens to be 100% of the duty cycle, you can only operate at 25 watts. So a 100-watt loop antenna doing digital is 25 watts out, providing you're not losing anything on your antenna and your line out to it, which I lose 7 to 8 dB because of the distance run I have. And that's why I can't say, well, I can do a 25 watt because really I'm going to be doing about 17 watts. And I find that doesn't work for traveling across the United States for direct contacts like I'm doing. Lower, not higher. What does that mean? Height matters. So when you're looking, for example, at the baby loop, there is a recommendation. Theirs is about 5 feet to about 8 feet is what you want to do. And that's from the bottom of the loop itself. And every manufacturer is going to be different in how they're going to want to do this. But always pay attention. Magnetic loops are not meant to be put on towers. They work better closer to the ground. That's just the way it is. Now, if you put it on the top of your roof or you have a metal roof, much better because it can bounce off the metal. If you put it on your balcony, I'll get here in a second, we'll talk about that. So low to the ground, and again, this is going to vary by vendor on it. If you have a slope or hill and you want to put it up higher. So in my case, if this is north facing, my thing kind of goes up like this. So I put mine up higher just to accommodate the fact that it's on a slope, it's going up a hill. Now, ground surface matters, and this is what I was just talking about. Concrete or metal surfaces, it'll radiate off pretty good. And but you need to keep this thing about 6 feet to 8 feet from objects if possible. I know if you're on a balcony, that's not going to happen. It'll still work. Ideally, is keep it like 6 foot from a tree or building or whatever you're doing. Metal around it will block a signal. So again, if you're in the attic and you got a metal roof, it's not going to work. And check also the attic insulation, make sure that it's not aluminum foam that goes into it. So when do you use? Well, if you have HOA restrictions like condos, apartments, you have a balcony, or in my case, I think the best way for me is to put it in the garage for temporary placement and take the tripod and I'll build a thing on wheels and I'll just roll it right outside the garage, get it about 6 to 8 feet from the house when I'm using it and I can wheel it back in. That's just what I'm considering doing it. When you have high ground noise levels, like air conditioners and car charging units, those are the things, if you're getting a high RF around you, you're going to want to use a loop antenna in here. And again, a lot of people take some of these smaller ones. They're not trying to do what I'm doing. They just want to make contact anywhere. These 100-watt mobile units that you can put on a tripod, lightweight, POTA, are great to do it. I just had to explain to you why I'm different, and so that you can understand what I'm looking for and what I'm trying to get out of my loop antenna versus most of you guys out there are probably doing the same thing as me. So what's some of the vendors I considered? And this is just a suggestion. I'm not putting everybody out there. One of the things you're going to find that most loop antennas for sale are QRP, 10 meters through 40 meters. But some of the ones that do more high power is Precise RF. They start at $1,400 and they go up to $3,025. 100 watts single sideband, 22 watts. That's the 1,400 one. The one that's 3,000, you can go with an amplifier on it. You can actually do 1,000 watts on it. And here's an alpha loop antenna. They're out of stock and didn't have much information, but I have an alpha antenna I use for mobile, for a mobile base station, and I really like it. So I wish I knew more about this antenna, but it's something that you may want to consider. You can do more information on it. $550 to $1,000. I don't know. They didn't have the price. It said call for the price on here. And there's two different models, and one is for more higher power that's out there. Now, when you talk about amplifiers in here, just understand this. And you can use it on the baby loop too. If you wish to use an RF power amplifier of more than 200 watts, at least this is the baby loop, and for the Precise is kind of pretty much the same way. It has to be installed between the controller and the controller ATU and the loop antenna itself. So what does that look like? So typically when you look at just like a rig only, and here's an amplifier. So here's a rig, the way it's set up, it comes in and goes out. This is pretty much my setup. If you put an amplifier in, and this is when you're going to be doing manual tune, it's going to go from the transceiver through the amplifier and out. If it's going through auto tune, it's going to go from the amplifier, it's going to come out of the controller, so the signal has been tuned, and it's going to go through the the linear amplifier, and it's going to go out to the loop. So just be aware, if you do want to use an amplifier, check if it's possible, if they suggest you can, but always remember, it has to be between the controller ATU and the loop antenna. The manufacturer is Ciro Mazzoni from Italy. They've been doing it for a number of years. But this is a high-powered loop antenna, and it's going to be listed as magnetic loop, though I'm not calling it that, so don't put a comment against me, please. They've been in business since 1996. They sell to the military, commercial, and civil. This is a well-built antenna. Yes, it cost, $23.36, and it went up because of the tariffs. But I'm telling you, you get what you pay for, and this is an absolutely phenomenal loop. But I also got the reseller, DX Engineering, to stand behind it. And I had to do calls on trying to get this set up, and they helped me resolve some issues. Did an outstanding job. I couldn't have done it without them. So even though I'm buying something from Italy, I'm really buying something through DX Engineering because they stand behind the support of it. Here is the stealth loop version of this antenna. So it's something, if you're looking for truly a balcony type of antenna or POTA, throwing it in the trunk, that's something you may want to consider. And there's a lot of videos out there about this antenna. Now, what radios does it work with? Icom, Yaesu, Kenwood, Elecraft, Flex radios. But you'll have to each one of them has specific setups of what you're supposed to use. So make sure you read the instructions and the directions. They have an Icom modes exclusively, and then you have to figure out what radio goes in for Cat 1 or Cat 2, and even Cat 3. But it's all in their instructions that they send you and online. So this is what the ATU, the automatic tuner unit, looks like. It'll always display the frequency in kilohertz, and it gives you the SWR. Here's the keypad. For me, I do the auto setup. Once I set it up, every time I turn the dial on my radio, or I'm using JS8, and JS8, I change the frequency within JS8. It changes, obviously, the rig, but it also changes the tuner, and the tuner changes the antenna. So I don't ever have to touch anything. I don't have to do it manually, though you can. And I'll get into that more in a second. So this is what my setup looks like. There's my tuner, and there's the keypad. And I pretty much put the keypad to the side because I don't use it, because I have auto tune going with my Icom 7300. The diameter across, on this unit is 40 inches or 1 meter, and it weighs about 26 pounds. And by the way, that's forward direction. So if you look at the arm going out this way, forward. So why the baby loop? Well, first of all, I wanted something that can work with my transceiver to do 50 watts digitally. That was the primary thing. It can do 200 watts from any transceiver, but my Icom 7300 only is 100 watts. But it's the digital that I focused on. Now I can do 50 watts and use this just like I can in my off-center fed dipole. It's rugged, excellent construction. It's like aircraft aluminum type of material. It is just so sturdy, easy to assemble. It includes the antenna tuner. I don't have to buy that. Yeah, I can do multi-bands with a low SNR, and it's really great efficiency on this one. And actually, you can even see from 40 meters to 10 meters. And compared to a dipole, as I showed you earlier, it's really efficient. So what are some of the accessories and this you can buy them all from DX Engineering. The zip wire, I didn't know what gauge. I told them I'm running 100 foot. That's my project. They said you need 14 gauge, and it works perfect. That's what I got on it. You can actually do 12 gauges if it's over 100 foot. They'll help, again, DX Engineering, tell them what you're doing, and they'll spec it for you. You can get the interface cable for the loop antenna. This is for my Icom, for the RS-232 off the back to my Icom. It's $100, and that's what it looks like here. I got I also ordered the medium duty rotator from Yaesu. That was $310. I got the rotator cable 100 feet, and that looks like this. And it's already pre-assembled, but I had to cut and remove this to feed it through the lines to get it up to my upstairs. I kept this part, cut it off, and then replaced this. I'll talk more about that later. And so I got the cable from them also. And just a side note, if you want to remove this, it's Molex pin and socket connector removal tool. It's an extractor tool. And I got it on Amazon. I can't remember. I think it maybe like 10 or 15 bucks. But this is what you can use to push in there and pull that out so you can save this and you don't have to throw everything away. So again, I wish I would have known that before I cut the end off. You won't have to. So accessories needed. Let's talk about mounting in here. If eventually I'll buy the tripod and I'll build a cart that this will sit on with wheels on it, but they do offer that. That's one way of doing it. That's $190. I bought the rotator. This is what you get, this is outside. And here is the inside unit where I just right, left, and that's the power button on that. And so I set up my antenna and I rotate it anywhere I want. And I'm telling you what, it's a game changer. It does not come with the mask at the clamps. So make sure when you order this that you ask for the mask clamp if you're mounting it to a pole, and I'll show you here. So on a mounting pole, I use 1.5 inch outside diameter galvanized pole. I got that from Home Depot. And that's what I use, the mounting bracket, to put that on. And I have pictures of all of this, but I'm just talking about the items. This was the hard part to spec out. With the part is the 2-inch galvanized pipe. I got that from Ferguson Plumbing. It's a wholesaler. It's on the top of the rotator to the baby loop. And the way they have their mounting clamps, it's really tricky. I just recommend just go with the 2-inch outside diameter, whatever, that you're going to use, and it'll fit. And the 1.5 inch fits this bracket just perfect. So when we look at my Icom 7300, on this, what are some of the advantages on here? I'm doing the 50 watt PEP on digital routinely. I can do it on the voice, 100 watts easily. It's directional. I don't have to be pinpoint. And I can now focus on weak signals better. So if someone I had a harder time picking it up, I can actually zero right in on them and pick them up. And I can also work around a strong interfering signal. I can turn the antenna enough that I can push them away and not have them interfere with what I'm doing in here. And again, excellent tuning in here, 1.2 to 1.5, typically on 40 meters, which I was really surprised. And this thing is built to last. It can stand 100-mile-an-hour winds. This is incredible. You have 3 different tuning options. You have manual mode, which you enter the frequency, and it's either the star key here or the backslash key, and then you can open the loop fast using the 9 and closing it fast on the 3. And so medium and slow. So if you really want it slow open and slow close, medium open, medium close, fast, and fast over here. Semi-auto allows you to do both manual and auto. But I basically, at this point, I just went to full auto tuning. I set it, forget it, and even I can use FL rig and it changes and it works all the way out to the antenna. But be aware that you don't want to be transmitting when the tuner is active. And where I find that can be a problem is if you're using JS8 and you have auto reply on and you're sitting there tuning it and all of a sudden your rig kicks in because it's doing an SNR reply, just be aware of that. Make sure you turn off your internal tuner. So on my Icom 73, I turn the tuner button off so you don't see it up here. Sometimes you may get motor fail when you're first setting this up. Will display. Check your coax, check your connections. I had found out that my automatic remote antenna switching unit was an issue, so I had to disconnect it and remove it. And then what I ended up finding out is with the manual switch, it was still an issue. So what I did was I bypassed the manual switch, connected the antenna together, and got it all programmed set up, then went back to the connector. So I do have my end fed half wave on number 1, my off center fed on number 2, and the baby loop on number 3. It works, but you can't program it through that 3-way switch out in the box, which I'll show you. I had to bypass it and then connect it after I got the setup done. On the rotator that I bought, it goes 450 degrees on here. And the thing that you have to remember is leave extra cable at the pole where it's connected, so when it rotates 450 degrees, it doesn't pull the thing off and rip the wires out. So just be aware of that if you're going to move your antenna 450 degrees. You always want to point your antenna north and your rotator north also. And you calibrate this before you mount. That's what I tried first, but I did an alternate way here. It's kind of strange here, but I can't tell you exactly what I did, to the degree I did it. But what I did do, though, was I went in the back and I reset the dials after I had it all calibrated correctly. And I have it set up now so that I can actually rotate my antenna right in here without having to go all around. When you set it up the way it's recommended, if I wanted to go to 330, I have to go all the way around. And then if I want to go back the other way, all the way around. So the way I have set mine up, it is pointing true north. And so when it's at north, it's north. But I can now move and I can go to 270. Actually, I can actually go from like 150 all the way to 180 in the way I've set mine up. So I don't have to sit there going back and forth. Because I find typically you're not going to want to go more than about 90 degrees because it is bidirectional antenna in here. In the back, on the back side in here are some holes. And in the manual it tells you which one is to set it. I think it's this one for the dial calibration, and this one is for the light for the overlap. So again, some of the things I'm telling you what I learned. So the alignment of the rotator is there's a mark here, and underneath the bottom side in here, those have to line up. So you can put like a piece of tape on that so that you know the two are lined together when you're first calibrating it. And that's where the rotator cable goes. Here's some key specs if you want to look at. Hit the pause. You can look at it. Otherwise, I'll continue to move on. They're also on the website at DX Engineering under the baby loop. So assembly is basically 3 pieces. That's pretty much it to get this together. The one side, the other side, and the attaching the attenuating arm. And I'll break all that down here in the next slide. Then I'll show you how we painted it, how we mounted it, and how we did the wiring. So the setup basically is they provide you with an antioxidant paste that goes between the metal plate and the bolts right there. And don't forget there's a washer on the back side of this over here. And a lot of times people will forget that. So you have to bend this down after you put the antioxidant paste on, and to put this in, the use of clamps to pull that down on each side like vice grips, and to hold it down because it's so strong on the bend on it that one person can't do it unless you got really strong hands. And to make sure that when you put the nut and you can attach this, you don't tighten it down. You just get below the surface because it has to rotate. Now on the paint job, what we used is denatured alcohol to clean the surface, aluminum primer that's self-etching, and then I used a camel brown non-reflective paint. All of this is at Home Depot. Height from the ground for my particular situation is 82 inches tall. I would have gone probably like 72. However, it was rising up a hill here. And so, again, it's trial and error. You got to find out what works. And it seems to work pretty good for me at that, but I would have had it a little lower if I didn't have the hill. Now, the soil quality is going to matter, or what's underneath the surface to reflect off of. So you may want to put some metal screening. They call it barn cloth, I think it is. I'm going to try a Faraday screen sheet and go underneath it and see if that gives me any improvement on my signal receiving and sending. And by the way, if you use an amplifier and you're going to crank this thing out, because this can do 1,500 watts on some of the bands out there. If you're doing that, look how close you are to a road. This is kind of low. Be just very careful if you're using an amplifier and how close you're mounting it. Now, when I mount the antenna here, it took two people to hoist this up, my son and I, to get this over. Even though this is 26 pounds, it's kind of high over our head, dropping this thing down, and to be able to bolt it down. So you'll probably need somebody else. But what we did is we dug a hole about 18 inches in the ground, put quickcrete, put some water in it, and leveled the base pole that you see right in here, and made sure that's where we started with. The rotator, there's two mounting brackets. There's one at the bottom. That is a 1.5 inch to the pole to the base that you can see right there. That's the rotator bracket. There's the rotator. And then we attached to the 2-inch pole and use the upper bracket. And that's the rotator bracket on the top part, the 2-inch pipe. And we then did it to the antenna bracket that you can see right there. And make sure you set it to north when you're tightening it all down. Now, as far as the zip line wire, went right through here. Underneath the 4 screws in this box is a quick connector. Coax simply just goes to the side of the box right there. Now, to run the cables, I already had this 2.5 inch flexible PVC pipe running down for my UHF, VHF antenna, and my HF antenna, and it goes to my box where my connectors are. We had to add these 2 wires in here. So I made this so it goes down so water doesn't come down into here. So air can go through, the lines can go through, but no water actually gets in and rests on the cables beneath. This comes off, and I pull that off, and so we're feeding through here and then over here with it being off. But the challenge was that way over on the other side of the house, we have to take it over, and it's not a straight line. It actually runs to this bush, turns 90 degrees, and then comes back up. And so trying to thread this through this was almost impossible. So we had to make sure that we disconnected the cable plug. So that was one less thing we had to pull through and make it thinner and sleeker. And then we used, this particular one does not hurt the jackets of any of the cables or the wires, the zip wires or anything. They're all not the same. So make sure when you're using wiring, pulling lubricant, that it's compatible with the type of outside jackets on your cables and wires. This one is. For what we were using, and it really, I was so surprised how easy it was to pull through. But just a tip, how we were able to get a string all the way through here over to my son to be able to get this thing started, we disconnected this, took a half a bag of a Walmart bag, those thin plastic bags, cut it, put a piece of string on it, stuffed it in here, even with the 2 wires already in there. He went to this side, this pulls off, we didn't glue that so we could access this. Pulled it down and put a shop vac on it and sucked the bag with the string all the way here. And as he starts to pull the string, after a certain point, I put on the paracord until he got to the paracord. And then the paracord was attached to the cable. And then I put this in my hand. I would squeeze this. I had a glove on. And as I would feed it through here and stuff it down here, I was lubricating the wires right in here and pushing it down in. And he was able to pull this up remarkably easy. So it just in the future, if you ever have to feed wires through stuff like this, make sure you use the right lubricant. So let's talk about the box pictures here. So again, I told you how that works in here, but here was an issue that I had that you might have. Here is a coaxial switch, and the 3 is the baby loop, the 2 is the end fed, half wave, and offsetter fed dipole. In this configuration, it does not like it, and it gets motor fail when I'm trying to do the automatic tuner setup. So what I had to do is disconnect this and bypass the switch and connect it right into the coax. It worked. And then what I do is I connect it back, put it back on, and now it will work. But I can't program it unless I did the bypass. So if you're running into this, you have a coaxial switch, check by disconnecting it, get it set up, reconnect it, and see if it works then. All switches are going to be different, and everyone's situation is going to be different. So let's talk about the tuner setup. It's pretty simple here. You got a 12-volt power cord that comes with it. You plug it in. The zip lines go in here. By the way, there are 2 screws. You just unscrew those so that you can fit in and clamp them down. The RS-232 intercom cable goes in here. This goes to the baby loop antenna. And when I bring my Icom 7300 in, this goes to the radio, back and forth, and this jack goes right over here, the CIV remote jack control. These are the steps I'm going to take you through in the video, and I'll show you line by line how to do all of this and how to set this up. It seems overwhelming, but after a while, it becomes pretty intuitive as you get used to doing it. Like I've had to do it multiple times to get it to work. So let's jump into the demo, and let's show you how to basically get the automatic tuner unit, recognizing the baby loop and setting up for auto mode. Okay, now that I have my box here with my cable connected to the Icom 7300, my keypad plugged in, turn the power on, and with my Icom 7300 working right in here, I'm going to long press here, and this is going to allow me now to, let me do it again. Okay, just set auto mode. These are the scroll buttons up and down through the menu, and I'm going to go set antenna type first, because if it's not connected to the baby loop, the other parts doesn't work. So it's really important that you check this. Antenna type, auto detect, and the answer is yes. You want to hit that. And so what it's going to do is it's going to do an auto check, which is going to send the signal down. It's going to open and close the antenna and then do a frequency tuning. And if that all works, it can say, oh, okay, I know which loop you're using. And we should get the baby/stealth loop. So here it's now closing outside. And real shortly here, we ought to know. Frequency should come up next. It's good, the blue motor is working, the tuning button is in here, baby stealth, okay. This is a big part. When you get this, it's good. So it saved it, and now it's going to do the auto tune. And it put me back to where I started. So now what we're going to do is go back, long press the minus key, set auto mode, and the answer is yes. Full auto, now I can scroll, and you can have 3 choices. You have a manual. I can go up again and hit semi-auto, and I can go one more time and go back to full auto. I want full auto, and I'm going to go enter. Select protocols. Again, I can scroll through here, and I can go, for example, Cat 1, Cat 2, Cat 3, and back to the Icom. I have the Icom, so that's the protocol I'm going to use. And in the instructions that they have, and I think I may have put it in the video, I can't remember, but it shows you exactly what cat controls for what particular radios that you're working. Just because I have the Icom 7300 doesn't mean that's the only radio. They have it for a lot of radios. So I'm going to go ahead and hit the enter because it's the Icom, and we're going to run through a process here. And it's going to ask me the baud rate, and this is how you change the baud rate. You can go up, see in here, and I'm going to go back, just scrolling through the menu, and I want 9200, which is mine. I hit enter. Baud rate saved. It's going to search the Icom, and it's going to go up to 94, and then we save it, and at that point we should be in the full auto mode. But to point out a few things here on the keypad, there's different ways when you're in the manual mode to do your frequencies. Now I get these backed up between the manual and the semi-auto. These 2 buttons at the top, the if I can pull it a little closer here, the star key and the backslash key right in here. If you hold and press those, you can enter the frequency in. When you're in full auto, you don't need to do that. But when you're in the manual mode, you can actually control the antenna. Right in here is these top buttons across are opening. These bottom buttons are closing speeds. So 9 is fast, 8 is medium, and 7 is really slow closing for fine tuning. And the one, excuse me, that's opening, closing, opening, closing, opening, and closing. So given 3 different speeds that are on there. The backspace button is one that you're going to use if you're doing this like I am after several times. I'm on the wrong screen. I hit the back button. It takes me to the next one that I just saw, so I don't have to start all over again. The enter key is the one that I use for additional fine tuning in the auto mode, and I'll show you that in a second here. So we're up to 94, save new ID, which is good. So with the Icom 73, that's the number. And now it should go to the auto tune, and based on the fact that I'm at 7151, it should tune to 7151 with an SWR of 1.4. And I usually average between 1.2 to 1.8 on the different bands that are out there. But if I want to, sometimes I'll just go ahead and hit the enter. Let me just pull this over, hit the enter, and look, I got 1.5. That wasn't a good thing. And I'll do it again. That's 1.5. But when I key it up, let's just take a look here on the radio. And what I'm going to do is, I think I'm going to switch to over here. I'm going to make you so you can see. You can see the ALC, the SWRs at the bottom. So I'm just going to go on 7.151, really low power, and I'm just going to go ahead and just show you what the SWR shows. KW3 KW, KW3 KW, test, KW3 KW, test. So you're seeing it's about a 1.4 to 1.5 it is showing in there, pretty reflective of what's on there. And again, depending on your setup, it's going to vary as to what results you're going to get based on how high you put it, your surface, your cables, everything. So everyone's going to get a different SWR, and this is where your skill comes into play, working with trying to make it the best SWR you can on the baby loop. And I'm really happy with the performance on it. So let's get back, and I think we've pretty much got you all set up and how to go into full auto mode on the Icom 7300. In summary, when we're looking at loop antennas in general, they're great for HOAs, for small lots, balconies, and attics. They're quiet, but they do have a narrow bandwidth, which means constant tuning. And it is directional, so there's going to be nulls on the side of the loop antenna. And make sure you pay attention to what the PEP is specifically for digital if you're doing digital. Again, if it's a 100-watt voice, it's not 100-watt digital. It's probably 25%, 25 watts or less. Just make sure you dig into the specifications and pull that out. Now, baby loop is an expensive antenna, but let me tell you, not like my wire antennas that are in the trees that are being pulled out from the winds and having issues with those and having to do a lot more maintenance. This is pretty easy. This is pretty much set it and forget it. And I can get a 100-mile-an-hour windstorm, and my antenna is going to still be standing. The finicky setting this thing up where you can get an initial setup, motor failed, that's common. Check your coax, make sure it's good, the connections are good, and the minimal interruptions along the way on the line. And that usually solves the problem. I appreciate you guys going through this video with me. And so this is MJ, KW3KW, with ham radio made simple. Thanking you for hitting the like and the subscribe and your encouraging comments below and helping others to find these videos by doing that. It's not for my benefit because I really don't care who watches these. But when I hear people saying I stumbled across your channel, it's like, oh, I'm sorry you couldn't find it sooner. So thank you guys for helping the others who are coming behind you. So again, this is MJ, KW3KW. Until next time, out.